Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was too busy drinking out of my Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast branded mug. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. You've just got me today, I'm afraid. Sam is away on a stag do in France. Hopefully he comes back alive from that one so he can continue the podcast. Today I'm afraid it's just me talking about Sky. In this particular one, I'm going to go through some players that I wouldn't say are obvious picks, and I wouldn't say are necessarily going under the radar, but I'd say they're mid-price picks that I think are really good and should be considered by everyone. I've always found that when I'm building my drafts recently that there's always been a spot in midfield where I've had less than sort of 7.0 million budget. So I'm going to go through all of the midfielders some midfielders that I've picked out under 7 million that I think are good picks, and just talk about them in a bit of detail. I'll go through the fixtures, a draft that I put together just to give you guys an example. I'm not saying I'm any kind of fantasy football expert, but yeah, just so you get an insight as to where I'm thinking of going. And then I think we've got some Twitter questions as well. So I'll get right into it. So first player, he scored really well this last season. Did Eric Dyer, but I really like him this year. He got consistent passing bonus. Spurs are looking better and better. They've just signed Yves Bissouma from Brighton, and I think they'll shore up even more defensively this year. I just think he's a really nice pick. And like I said, got consistent passing bonus last year. Plays in the middle of the back three. I know Romero is seeming the value pick for Spurs, but at the moment I'm rocking a Dyer and Romero double up because I really like Eric Dyer. 180 points last season at 8.4 million. I think he's a really good shout this year. Not much more to say really. Passing bonus, clean sheets. What more could you want for 8.4 million? So yeah, definitely Eric Dyer is a player I recommend people consider. Next up is Wesley Fofana. Now, first comment to make is I believe he's rumoured to be of interest to Chelsea. Now, if he stayed at the same price, which obviously he will in Sky, and is signed for Chelsea, 7.5 million for a Chelsea defender is an unbelievable value. But even at Leicester, him and Evans were playing together towards the end of last season, and in no way were Leicester perfect defensively, but they certainly improved on where they were at the start and towards the middle of last season when Evans and Fofana came back. And it also looks like Fofana was picking up passing bonus quite regularly and the odd tackle bonus. So I think at 7.5 million, a player that gets pretty consistent passing bonus and the odd clean sheet here and there, I think he's really good value. Wesley Fofana, another player I would suggest is one to look out for. The next one, I've actually got his points from last season just to show like how good I think he is. Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. And I'm pretty sure, I think it's pretty clear that he had a purple patch last season. You know, he didn't produce those kind of numbers playing in France. I think in probably nearly 100 games for Lyon, he scored 4 or 5 goals. Whereas in Newcastle, he started with an absolute bang. So I don't think he'll quite hit the heights of last season. But if you look into the points that he scored, he didn't blank, for example, from March to May. He got consistent tackle bonus, a mixture of attacking returns. So he got goals, assists. So 3 or 4 different routes to points there. Obviously, the Man of the Match award goes away, and he got a few of those. But yeah, I just think goals, assists, tackle bonus, 8.3 million. I think he's a really good pick. If he continues the form of last season, I think he can be one of the best players in Sky this year. So yeah, Bruno Guimaraes, I think he's a really good shout, and he's certainly in my team at the moment. Next up, I think initially this is a watch and wait, but I think Yves Bissouma is obviously a really good signing for Spurs. He was a really good player at Brighton. He didn't necessarily light the world up in terms of Sky Fantasy. I think he got the odd tackle bonus here and there when he was at Brighton. But what we're finding at the moment with the Spurs midfielders is certainly Højbjerg anyway is a bit of a passing bonus machine. So if, for example, Basuma could either displace Højbjerg or Bentancur, I certainly think Basuma will play, but he might need some time to break his way into the first team, which is why I think he's a watch and wait. But once he's playing in that Spurs midfield, I think he's got a really good chance of passing bonus and tackle bonus most games. If you cast your mind back to when Højbjerg first joined Spurs from Southampton a couple of seasons ago, he was around this price and was one of the best picks in the game because he was steadily coming along with passing bonus and tackle bonus pretty much every game. And these are the sorts of players that you can just leave in your team all season, providing they don't get injured or what have you. You don't have to spend any transfers, and you can guarantee yourself getting some points off them. So, like I said, I think he's a wait and see, just to see how he fits into the team and whether he actually does get those passing bonus and tackle bonus that I talked about. But I think he's got a real chance of it, and at 7.5 million, he's a really good price. Next up, we got Thiago from Liverpool. The points are not, well, I don't know, a bit different in the way they're laid out than Bruno Guimaraes's, but he is a consistent tackler and passing bonus player. I would say as we get into the times where the Premier League is being played alongside the Champions League and other cup competitions, he's not going to play every game. But I think certainly for the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, as long as he doesn't get injured, I'd expect Thiago to start every week. And if you look at here, I mean, the 1 points come from his substitute appearances, but every time he started in the period of sort of mid-March to May, he got either passing bonus or tackle bonus. So if you think start of the season for 6 or 7 weeks, 6 or 7 games, you'd back Thiago to get at least tackles or passing bonus most games. So, and he's 7.9 million as well, which is a bit cheaper than the player I've got up next. But yeah, I just think he's really good value. He hasn't quite made it into my team at the moment, but he's certainly one I've been looking at. And yeah, from my perspective in Sky, having players that consistently get you bonus points is a really good baseline because it means you don't have to worry about them. They can just sit in your team all season long, sometimes regardless of opposition they're playing as well, and just regularly get you points. So I think Thiago is one of those players should he stay fit. And then finally, I'm not really seeing him come up in many of the Twitter drafts. I think just for how people's teams are being structured, but Rodri has been a bit of a Sky legend for the last couple of years, really. And I think the people that have selected him have always been rewarded. Obviously, he's not going to come away with many hauls, but he certainly added goals to his game last year. I think he got 5 or 6 Premier League goals. But pretty much you can guarantee with Rodri, every game he's either going to get you tackles or passing bonus. I mean, his points floor is 4 or 5 points. And you can see there he scored over 200 points last year. And I think he was 8.7 million last year. Gone up a little bit to 9.1. But for a player that scores 200 points a season, is regular passing and tackle bonus, odd goal and assist here and there, I still think 9.1 million is a good price. And he's been there or thereabouts in my drafts as well. I just don't think you can overlook Rodri. There are plenty of midfielders with, who could explode, but you could also spend 9 million on Rodri and guarantee yourself 5 points a game. And he also, give him his due, he's got a pretty good fitness record as well. I don't think he actually gets injured that much. Yeah, he's a very consistent, steady Eddie. And for 9.1 million, I think he's really good value. So yeah, I think that covers that. Just a few players that I don't think everyone is considering, but I really do think they offer value at their prices in pretty consistent points. So next up, I was talking about at the start, my team seems to be structured around a very, very cheap midfielder, sort of under the £7 million mark. And I've already realised I've missed Ndidi off this list, who's also worth considering. And there are probably others as well, so apologies if I've missed any off. But yeah, this is a list of 6 midfielders under 7 million that I think are genuine options to go with from the start. So first off, we got Kamara from Villa, signed from Marseille this summer. He comes very highly regarded. As a Man United fan, I know that he was one of the players that United were considering for that defensive midfielder spot. So yeah, Villa have signed a really good player here. I'm not sure if he's playing in that Villa midfield. He'll certainly, in my opinion, displace Douglas Luiz. I think he's now their starting holding midfielder. But just the way that Villa play, I'm not sure he'll get passing bonus. But I'd fancy him to get tackles here and there. Probably not as consistently as some of the others on this list. But I think he's a perfectly decent option under 7 million. And I think because of his quality, you can pretty much guarantee that he's nailed unless he gets injured. So yeah, I like Kamara. And I've seen him in a few drafts as well. I know I'm not alone in liking him as an option. Another one, I don't know if he's going under the radar because he doesn't have a picture, but I've not seen this Lerma in many drafts. 6.5 million. He's the holding midfielder for Bournemouth. When he did play in the Premier League for Bournemouth, I know he had some very good tackle numbers. I think when him and Idrissa Gueye were playing in the Premier League together, I think there was one season where that was happening. And Idrissa Gueye was a pretty well-known tackle monster. I think Lerma was getting quite near his tackles per game numbers. And he played over 35 games for Bournemouth in the Championship, which makes me think he'd be pretty nailed in the Premier League this season. Yeah, 6.5 million for a Premier League proven player who we know gets tackles in the league, I think is a really good price. I think I prefer him to Kamara personally. But yeah, I just think he's a really good option. I guess the one thing to consider with all these players that get tackle bonus is that they are going to pick up the odd yellow card and probably suspension here and there. But even then, once a yellow card ban, I think is only one game, so... Yeah, I like Lerma at that price. I think Yates is a similar story. Played regularly for Nottingham Forest in the Championship. I saw on one of their lineups they put out on Twitter for pre-season, he was captain, which makes me think that he's pretty nailed to play most games in the Premier League. And yeah, got reasonably decent tackle numbers in the Championship. But the thought is that, the Championship to the Premier League, the step up will probably mean more tackles. So I think he's a good option. One thing to think about is during pre-season he got injured. I think he played at the weekend just gone. He picked up a knock, but the manager said he's still fit and ready to play. So it might just be his style or he is a bit injury prone, but just want to consider that we haven't even started the season yet and he's had a knock and an injury during pre-season. So yeah, just want to think about. The next one who I've actually picked for my team at the moment, but again, I'm not hard and fast on Gibbs-White at the moment. As I said, Morgan Gibbs-White, 6.6 million. With Jimenez's injury, I think he's got a really good chance of getting in the starting 11. The one thing to consider with him is he's not the likes to pick up passing bonus or tackle bonus. You're going to pick him for his likelihood to get attacking returns, which I think... I don't know, say he plays 5 or 6 games while Jimenez is out, works his way into the first team. That's a possibility. He might get the odd attacking return here and there. So, yeah, just one to consider. I selected him, but I'm not massively keen. I just think I'd tick the box because he was top of the list of 6.6 million midfielders, to be honest. Next one is another Forest player, O'Brien. I think he's a new signing for them this summer. I can't confess to know a whole lot about him, other than the fact that the people in my fantasy football circles seem to rate him from the Championship. Someone I follow by the name of Mick Byram on Twitter, who I believe in the past has actually won the Sun Dream Team game. He's a big Nottingham Forest fan, and by the looks of his tweets, he backs O'Brien to start pretty much every game and be the enabler midfielder from Forest that's best to pick in Sky. So yeah, I don't think he can come more highly regarded than that from an experienced fantasy football player. So another one to consider from that list. And then finally, he has probably been the most picked for me, João Palhinha. Signed again in the summer by Fulham from Portugal. I think he played in the Champions League last year because I saw a tweet saying he was in the top 10 for total tackles in the Champions League last season, which I think says a lot about his play style. And yeah, 6.6 million for a player that, had high tackle numbers against a high level of opposition in the Champions League. You'd like to think that that would translate to the Premier League. Obviously, it depends how Fulham utilise him, and I think with new signing, there's always question marks as to how regularly they will play. But I think with João Palhinha, he seems to have played pretty much all of pre-season for Fulham, which makes me think that he will at least start the season. So again, another really good option in my opinion at that price under 7 million. So yeah, those are 6 picks under 7 million that I think are perfectly reasonable. In all honesty, I don't think there's a lot between them. I don't even know if one will emerge throughout the season as the best. I think there will probably be a couple that sort of outweigh the others as better picks. In my opinion, I'm just going to pick one and then see who becomes the better options, transfer to them, and then leave them for the rest of the season. I think that will be my tactic. And to be honest, I'm most likely to either go, I think, with Lerma, O'Brien, or João Palhinha as my pick for the season. I think those 3 are probably the ones that I'll go with, even though it looks like I've got Gibbs White selected there. But yeah, you get the gist. I think those are my 3 personal favourites. But I wouldn't be opposed to using just a single transfer to then move on to who emerges as the best midfield enabler. So yeah, hopefully that helps. And yeah, there's certainly not short of options in terms of those sub 7 million midfielders. And to be honest, at that price, if they got 2 points a game, I wouldn't be too angry at that. I just think you want to pick one that plays regularly, really. Right. Next up is just a quick view of the Game Week 1 fixtures. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the fixtures because there are other better fixture experts than myself. But I think it is worth just going through the 3 days of Game Week 1 in Sky, talking about the games, who I think are good picks, and who I will be captaining on those days. So starting off with the opening day of the season, on Friday the 5th, we've got Crystal Palace at home to Arsenal. Obviously, this is just my personal opinion. I think this will be a low-scoring game. I think both Crystal Palace and Arsenal are pretty solid defensively. Crystal Palace's expected goals conceded stats last year, I think, were actually better than Arsenal's. So I do expect this to be quite a low-scoring game. In terms of who I'm going to captain, I do think Arsenal will win the game, but I don't think it will be a high-scoring game. At the moment, I'm edging towards Jesus or Zinchenko as my captains. I think Jesus will definitely be the most owned player by no shadow of a doubt, really. I think he'll be the most owned player on the night. But in my opinion, I think the best you're going to get out of him is maybe 1 goal, just for how good Crystal Palace are defensively, or seem to be last season. Yeah, and then you've got the Arsenal defenders. So I think, personally, my pick of the Arsenal defenders at the moment is Saliba. I think he's 7.4 million. And with the Tomiyasu injury, he has been playing at centre-back alongside Gabriel, with Ben White playing at right-back. And I actually think that the Arsenal centre-backs have got a good chance of passing bonus in this game, just for the fact that Crystal Palace like to play a possession-based game themselves. So, yeah, I'd like to think the ball will be on the ground most of the games. Arsenal centre-backs passing the ball about between each other. I think it's a real possibility that a Saliba or a Gabriel could get passing bonus. And likely with Zinchenko as well. And yeah, just based on how I see the game going, I wouldn't be opposed to having Ramsdale as captain and then quickly moving on to someone like Alisson, or keeping Ramsdale, because Alisson is likely to be out of the Community Shield, and given that he's out of the Community Shield, it's a bit touch and go as to whether he'll play on Saturday the 6th as well. So yeah, I don't hate the Ramsdale pick either, because the thing is with goalkeepers and clean sheets in Sky is that you get 9 points for a clean sheet, whereas a defender only gets 7. Assuming they start the game, you get the 2 points for starting and then the 5 points for the clean sheet. But yeah, Ramsdale has a higher score if he keeps a clean sheet than the defenders do. So yeah, I like the thought of Ramsdale as well. Looking at Saturday the 6th, opening up the day, we've got Fulham at home to Liverpool, Tottenham at home to Southampton, Newcastle at home to Forest, Leeds at home to Wolves, Bournemouth at home to Villa, and Everton at home to Chelsea. Now, if this was last season, sorry, I can't get my words out. If this was last season, I think there are 3 games here that you could potentially pick a captain from. Although I don't think Chelsea are a factor at the moment. They just didn't look very good during pre-season. I certainly don't have any of their assets at the moment, and I think they're going to take some time to, both sign some centre-backs and then bed them in so that they get back to their ways defensively. So I think I would captain from the Fulham-Liverpool game and the Tottenham-Southampton game. I will be going for Salah because I just think his opening day form is insane. I think he will be the most picked captain of the day as well, and that's usually where I end up going. But if you were thinking of captaining a Son or a Kane against Southampton at home, I really wouldn't want to talk you out of that either. I think they're almost equally likely to score the same points as Salah. So yeah, I think it's Salah, Son or Kane for captaincy on that Saturday, and yeah, I wouldn't be hard and fast as to who of those you picked. I think they've each got a good chance of scoring really well. And then the final day of the game week, we got Sunday the 7th of August, United at home to Brighton, Leicester at home to Brentford, and West Ham at home to Man City. I mean, you could captain a Leicester player, but Brentford are pretty good. Same with United. I think that'll be a close game between United and Brighton. Despite United having a new manager, Brighton seems to be a weakness of United, don't they? They play really well against us, but they always seem to. So yeah, I just foresee that being a close game. So I think the pick of the day is West Ham, Man City. And then for me, it's between 2 players who I captain, Cancelo and Haaland. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne as an outside chance as well, but for me, I'm going to keep it Cancelo and Haaland. Going into that day, I'll probably own both of them as well. I anticipate that Haaland will probably be the popular captain pick. Just because of his ownership at the moment is insane. I think he's above 50% owned in the game. And yeah, it's just Man City debut. It just makes sense that Haaland could get something this game. The one caveat I would have is that West Ham seem to always show up when they play Man City. They gave them some real trouble last year. I think they drew 2-2 with them at home. Bowen caused some real damage running in behind the City defence, just because they play such a high line. I don't see that changing for this game. So I think I think West Ham could score, which means I prefer Haaland to Cancelo as a captain in this one. Obviously, with Cancelo, you've got the backup of tackles and passing bonus too, and I would expect him to at least get passing bonus against West Ham. But I'm just not sure City can keep a clean sheet in that game. Especially with Laporte out, I think they will either have Ake or Stones at centre-back, which is a little bit weaker than Laporte and Diaz. So, yeah, I just fancy West Ham to score, which draws me towards Haaland a bit more. But yeah, I think it's between Cancelo, Haaland and KDB for me. And then just quickly, I've put a draft of mine up on the screen. It's a bit confusing with Zinchenko there, still in a Man City shirt. But yeah, I think at the start of the season, I will be here or hereabouts in terms of my team. So I've got Alisson in goal. I think I spoke about him in the last one. I just think he is the outstanding pick of the goalkeepers. Liverpool kept the joint most clean sheets along with Man City last year. And if you compare Alisson to Ederson, Alisson makes far more saves than Ederson does, which in my opinion makes him a better pick. I think he's 0.1 million more, but for the points upside Alisson has over Ederson, I think he's worth it. Whereas with Ederson, you either get 2 points or 9 points. There's very little in between. But for Alisson, even if they concede a goal, there's a chance it will get saves bonus as well. And of course, he can get saves bonus on top of the clean sheet. So yeah, Alisson's my pick in goal. I've spoken about Romero and Dyer on this pod. Romero on the last one, similar really to Dyer. I think he's slightly less likely to get passing bonus, but he did get the odd tackle bonus here or there last season as well. And I just think Spurs will be even better this season. My gut tells me, and I'm probably, hopefully, not wrong here, but I might well be. My gut tells me that they will pull similar defensive numbers to what Chelsea did last year. I just think they've got the Conte factor about them. They've been absolutely destroying teams towards the end of last season. In most cases by nil as well. So obviously likes of Dyer Romero keeping a clean sheet there. And then a couple of tried and trusted defenders. Virgil van Dijk, we all know Liverpool kept joint most clean sheets last year. Van Dijk offers a bit of goal threat and obviously passing bonus as well. Cancelo, in my opinion, I think he was my favourite player in Sky last year. Obviously Salah outscored him, but I think Cancelo just had so many different routes to points. I mean, goals, assists, tackles, passing. I think he's just got it all. I think he even underperformed his attacking stats as well. So if that's anything to go by, I think he'll kick on even more this year and get more attacking returns. And I think the two City defenders you want are Cancelo and Diaz. I think the rest are at risk of rotation. Like I think Walker, Ake, Stones, and I think there's a young kid that could play left back as well. I think the three of those will be interchanged, but Cancelo and Diaz will be pretty stalwart for most of the season, I think. Then at the moment I've got Zinchenko in as my captain for the Arsenal day. Again, I think this is a position that could go to anyone really. I like the look of Lewis Dunk at this price as well, but yeah, just for now I've picked Zinchenko. And I could also go for Jesus on the first day and quickly get him out for Haaland if I want to. Another one to consider for defence as well that I didn't mention is Nathan Ake. I think if he starts the Community Shield, he's got a good chance of starting the first few Premier League games for City as well. And he's the same price as Zinchenko at 8 million. So yeah, if you can get yourself into Man City defence for 8 million, I think that's too good an offer to refuse. So I think it'll be either Zinchenko or Ake in that position for me. I don't think need to really explain Mo Salah. I've gone through Guimaraes and Gibbs-White as well as my midfield. I think Gibbs-White could be anyone. I think ultimately I'll probably end up with an O'Brien or a Lerma just for the security of bonus points. But yeah, that's what I'm going with in midfield. And then up top I've got Wilson and Haaland. But again, I think I could go with Jesus as my striker for the opening day as well. But yeah, not hard and fast really. I think the only one that is Wilson. And the only worry I have with him, obviously, is his injury record. And with my team being 5-3-2, I'm sort of locked into having him. Because when you look below Wilson in terms of strikers and their prices, there isn't really much. So yeah, I feel I'm taking a bit of a risk there with Wilson. So I might even rethink my team after this, but yeah, I'm talking myself out of it already. But this is just a draft I put together. I think I'll be here or hereabouts. So hopefully that's useful for you to see. And then quickly just onto some Twitter questions. As always, thanks everyone for asking some questions. Steve Wright, he's asked thoughts on goalkeepers. Can't decide between premium and set and forget or someone like Henderson and use the funds elsewhere. I think with goalkeepers, you pretty much get what you pay for. I think Henderson, like the likes of Meslier, Raya, Sanchez, who I think are all under sort of 7 million. Sam Johnson as well is one that I really like. I think if Sam Johnson becomes a starter later in the season, I think I'll downgrade Alisson to Sam Johnston and then use the funds elsewhere. But I think to start with the season, just because we don't know how like Forest will play, for example, with Henderson, I'm just going to start with the tried and trusted Alisson, who I know will get clean sheets, saves bonus, just as he did last year. I'll start with him and then analyse the rest of them and see if there is a value pick that emerges. But I just think there are so many points up for offer for Alisson that it makes sense to start with him. And then Mitch, I think I've sort of answered this just when I went through my teams really. He's asking about my formation at the start. Yeah, I've gone with back five because I think it's stronger. But as you saw with my Wilson pick, it certainly makes me a bit less flexible. So yeah, it's just whether you can strike the balance really. I also quite like quite a few people playing the 4-5-1 formation as well, which I certainly don't hate. But I think with me, just the way Sky plays, rewarding consistent bonus point scoring defenders, I think I'll be on a 5-3-2 to start. Gordon Bell, like I said, I already missed Ndidi, so sorry about that on my list of enablers. But yeah, he says, what are your thoughts on Ndidi at Leicester as an enabler? Again, I think he's equally good option, probably better option actually than Kamara, who I showed there. I think he's got a good chance of getting tackle bonus, got really good tackle numbers for Leicester. Probably more likely than the players I put on screen to get passing bonus as well, just because Leicester are a possession-based team. But I think with Ndidi, I just don't like his injury record. He spent most of last year out of action with injury, and he just always seems to pick one up during the season. So yeah, just a bit hesitant on him. About Man City defenders, who would be my choice? I think there are three at the moment. Already mentioned Cancelo. I think Diaz is pretty nailed on to start most games, being fit, and Ake as well. I think offers really good value at 8 million. I think it's whether you want to take the risk, right? I think if he starts the Community Shield, he's got a good chance of starting the season as well. And I'm pretty sure Luke Disable has him in his Community Shield predicted team as well. So just an interesting one there. But yeah, I think Cancelo and Diaz are the locks. And then you could have Ake if you fancy being a bit of a chancer and getting your hands on a Man City defender for 8 million. And then he asks, Romero and Dyer double up. Please talk me out of it. I can't talk you out of that, mate, because I've got it too. I think, Romero and Dyer are great value, and yeah, I expect Tottenham to kick on again this season, so I think they're both great picks. In Your Dreams asks Jorginho, thoughts on Jorginho? Bonus magnet, Kante hasn't played a single minute of pre-season, and despite the shambles, they've got good fixtures and should get bonus points and a few penalties. Yeah, I haven't really considered Jorginho. I'm just going to have a quick look at his price on my phone a second. Because, yeah, I wouldn't want to talk you out of Jorginho, to be honest. I think he's one of those steady eddies that goes under the radar, picks up 4 or 5 points a game, penalties. He's 8 million, so similar price to Thiago, cheaper than Rodri. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think that's a really, really shrewd pick. I think, like you said, with Kante out, he's more likely to start, but obviously Chelsea have Conor Gallagher back now as well. They've got, who else have they got in that position? Gallagher, Kovacic. I think they don't really fancy Gilmore. There are 3 players really vying for those 2 positions, but I do think Jorginho is probably first choice, isn't he, of that lot? So yeah, quite like that. Might think about putting him in my team myself, to be honest. And then SkyFF Jake, who is your favourite enabler currently? I think I've already covered that, really. I think it's between, who did I say? Lerma, O'Brien. Let me just put it back up again. Lerma, O'Brien, and who else did I have? Oh, João Palhinha. Yeah, so I think it's between those 3 for me, to start at least. Where's the questions? There they are. But honestly, I wouldn't think that deeply about it. I think you pick one based on the information we've got, like a Palhinha, because of his good tackle numbers in the Champions League. And then if one emerges as by far the standout, then just switch to them. Use a single transfer to switch to them, and then just hold them for the season. I just think there are 5 or 6 good options there. It's really pot luck if you pick the right one, and if you don't, then just switch to the right one when it emerges during the season. But yeah, in terms of my favourites, my gut tells me it's Lerma, Palhinha, and O'Brien. Couple more questions. Aidan Youngie asks us, Haaland or a Spurs attacker? For me, I think I will go for Haaland to start. And then next week, when Spurs play Chelsea, I will switch to a Spurs player and captain the Spurs player for that game. So I think start with Haaland to captain against West Ham. and then switch to Kane or Son to captain against Chelsea would be my move. But again, if you don't feel Haaland is the strongest captain against West Ham, then there's a real case to start with a Spurs player, because you might think that Spurs players outscore Haaland in the first week, and in that case go with them. I certainly don't think it's a hard and fast thing. Just giving you my preference, really. And then Nikos the Gooner, he's asked me a bit around a decent transfer plan. How many am I looking to use between game week 1 and 8? Premium rotation and fixture ease. I'll go through the first two things, and then I'll go through the end part of your question, mate. So I think around a decent transfer plan, I still haven't decided really. I think I'll either start with Jesus or someone else that's an Arsenal player. So say I start with Zinchenko, I'll probably just leave Zinchenko in. But if I start with Jesus, I'm likely to transfer him out on the Saturday or Sunday for a Spurs or Haaland. And if I do Jesus to Haaland to a Spurs player, that's 2 transfers. So I'm still a bit undecided really. And I think I know we've got 50 transfers this year, but I don't think my strategy with them will change. I don't usually rush out the blocks. I like to try and plan as far as I can ahead using minimal transfers. So I'll probably favour a conservative approach really to start. And really, how many am I looking to use between game week 1 and 8? I probably want to use 1 or 2 if I can help it. Just because I think Forest have a couple of single game days. Unless obviously O'Brien turns out to be the standout enabler. And I want to captain him in the games that Forest play. I think I might want to make a switch from, say, Alisson to Henderson. I think that comes around the 6th or 7th week of the season. So that's what I'm looking at anyway. And then he's on about, ease of fixtures versus premium ability but tougher fixtures. Okay, I understand that. So it's like a Wolves player versus an Arsenal or a Chelsea. I think what you saw with my team really is I prefer to pick players that get regular points, usually through bonus. So your Wolves players, for example, say you pick a Wolves defender like Johnny, you're relying on attacking returns or clean sheets, and that's about all he's going to get. Whereas if you pick maybe not even Arsenal might get you bonus points, but for like say a Chelsea or a Man City, who have got Man City have got good fixtures actually, but I think you get the point. When you pick an Arsenal or a Chelsea defender, you get pretty much bonus like every game, and I just prefer bonus to 2 or 7 points for a clean sheet or not really. Because say like Thiago Silva, even if Chelsea don't do very well to start with, he will pretty much get passing bonus every game. So he'll still score 4 or 5 points every game, even if they concede 1 or 2 goals. Whereas Johnny, if Wolves concede, he probably gets 2 points, and if they keep a clean sheet, he gets 7, and that's it. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Not that you'd really be picking Johnny against Thiago Silva because of the price difference, but I think my point is, rather than fixture ease with team quality, it's more about chance for bonus in terms of the players I pick, I think. Hopefully that made sense. To be honest, it feels like a ramble throughout this video, but I hope people have found it useful anyway. Gone through some players, my team, the enablers, the fixtures, and answered some of your questions. So hopefully that's a nice, well-rounded podcast to get you going for the season. I don't know if we'll do another Sky one, to be completely honest. This might be it, but hopefully with the 2 videos I've made, it gives you a good idea of like a team to pick and the players to go for. Yeah, and I got a mug. Look at that. This will obviously be the prize for our free mini league this year. I didn't take a screenshot of it and put it in the video, but I will put the league code in the comments section. We're not asking for any money. It's just a free one. And if you win it, we'll give you a Golden Goal branded mug and a packet of biscuits of your choice, because I love biscuits. And you can have some. So yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed, give us a like and subscribe. Our Twitter handle is up there for you to see as well. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next video. And if we don't make another Sky podcast before the weekend, all the best. Best of luck. Hope you get off to a good start, and I'll see you later.